The CIA tried to stop communism and accidentally helped flood America with crack cocaine. In 1984, a Cessna 404 twin-engine plane touched down on a dusty, unlit airstrip in the jungles of northern Nicaragua. No insignia, no flight logs, just crates, heavy, sealed, and watched over by men with mirrored sunglasses and American accent. What was inside would soon feed the veins of American cities, ignite civil wars, and make billionaires out of killers. But this isn't the story of drug dealers. It's the story of how the most sophisticated intelligence agency on Earth helped build the world's most dangerous drug empire. The CIA didn't set out to create a cocaine empire. They were trying to fight communism. But in Cold War politics, the line between enemies and allies blurs fast, especially when the enemy of your enemy is a bloodthirsty cartel lord with a runway and a reason to cooperate. Nicaragua, 1981. The Sandinista government had taken power, Marxist, pro-Cuba, pro-Soviet. For Washington, that was one red flag too many. So they found a solution. Fund the Contras, right-wing rebel fighters armed to the teeth and willing to do anything to win. Problem was, Congress had just passed the Boland Amendment. US money couldn't legally fund the Contras anymore. That's when the deals began. Unofficially, quietly, off the books. In the shadows of Central America, a network formed of freelance operatives, ex-military contractors, and mid-level CIA contacts who understood the game. Look the other way and keep the deniability intact. The Contras needed guns. The Colombians needed distribution. And the streets of Los Angeles, they needed product. What followed would turn freeway underpasses into war zones, spark one of the deadliest drug epidemics in history, and leave a trail of bodies, both innocent and powerful. The key connection came through a man named Oscar Danilo Blandon, a Nicaraguan exile with Contra ties and a knack for logistics. Blandon had contacts in both hemispheres, rebel commanders in the jungle, and a young, street-smart dealer in south-central LA named a freeway Ricky Ross. Ricky didn't invent crack cocaine, but he industrialized it. By 1983, he was moving millions of dollars worth of product a day, feeding an empire that stretched from California to Ohio, all through a pipeline that began with Blandon and led quietly to the Contras. In Washington, no one wanted to know. Or rather, they already knew. An internal memo from 1982 warned senior CIA officials that traffickers connected to the Contras were moving cocaine into the US still. Funding continued. The agency's focus wasn't drugs, it was communism. And as long as the Contras bled the Sandinistas, the means didn't matter. Or maybe they did, just not enough. A C-123 cargo plane loaded with weapons was shot down over Nicaragua. The pilot, Eugene Hasenfuss, survived, and he talked. The plane was part of a secret resupply mission funded by private donors and coordinated, allegedly by CIA-linked operatives. The scandal exploded. It was the beginning of what the world would come to know as Iran-Contra. A tangled web of arms deals, hostage negotiations, and covert funding channels that bypassed every law Congress had tried to write. But buried in the chaos was another secret, one that wouldn't surface until years later. In 1996, journalist Gary Webb published a series called Dark Alliance. His reporting linked the rise of crack in America directly to the Contra network and by extension to the CIA. Webb claimed the agency had, at the very least, allowed drug trafficking to continue unimpeded. At worst, they'd enabled it. The story was explosive, too explosive. Within weeks, major newspapers attacked Webb's reporting. Government officials denied everything. Former CIA directors called it a fantasy. But then something strange happened. In 1998, under mounting pressure, the CIA released an internal report. And in it, confirmation. Yes, Contra-linked individuals were involved in drug trafficking, and yes, the agency knew. But they claimed they didn't support it. It didn't matter, the damage had been done. By then, crack cocaine had burned through America's inner cities like napalm. Children raised in war zones, neighborhoods flooded with militarized police. The war on drugs became a war on the poor. And in a bitter twist of irony, the same agency that had allowed the flood was now overseeing the cleanup, with black budgets, surveillance programs, and prison pipelines. Back in LA, Ricky Ross was sentenced to life. Blandon, he testified for the prosecution and walked free. Turns out he'd been working with the D all along, maybe even protected. Webb, the reporter who exposed it all, was discredited, blacklisted, and ultimately found dead in 2004. 2 gunshots to the head, officially ruled a suicide. There's no villain monologue, no smoking gun. Just a mosaic of secrecy, silence, and shattered lives. The CIA didn't need to pull the trigger. They just had to step aside while others did. And in that space, the world's most dangerous drug empire was born.